You ever notice those people on your friends list? You know, the ones who are definitely there, they'll like your posts, maybe leave a comment, but you realize you have never seen them post a photo of themselves. Ever. No selfies, no group shots, nothing. Well, let's get into it because the psychology behind these online phantoms is absolutely fascinating.
So, what's the deal, right? In a world that pretty much runs on likes, shares, and being seen, these people are, well, they're the ghosts in the machine. They're choosing to stay invisible. But why? What's driving that decision? I'll give you a hint. It's almost certainly not what you think it is. Our first thought is usually something like, oh, they must be really shy or maybe a little antisocial. Or we might even think, gosh, maybe their life is just uninteresting. But here's the twist. Psychology flips that entire script. The reality is often the complete opposite. These are the people who are more likely to be deeply secure, incredibly self-aware, and quietly, powerfully confident.
Okay, so let's push past those easy assumptions. The real story here has nothing to do with being shy. It's actually a much more compelling story about a different kind of inner strength, about emotional intelligence, and really about a whole different way of being online.
So, one of the biggest reasons is what psychologists call a high privacy orientation. Now, this doesn't mean they are secretive or antisocial. Not at all. It's more about protecting their mental space. They just place a really high value on controlling their own story and deciding who gets a front row seat to their life.
And this is where it gets really interesting. It's all about where you get your sense of worth. A lot of us are on that hamster wheel, chasing likes, comments, shares, that external validation. But these folks, they tend to run on internal validation. They don't need to put their life on display to feel good about it. And that right there is a massive sign of genuine inner security.
So, if it's all about this inner security, what's it actually made of? What are the psychological building blocks, the nuts and bolts, that create a type of confidence so solid it doesn't even need an audience to prove it exists?
Well, it pretty much boils down to three key things. It all starts with a really strong self-awareness. Then that's supported by a secure self-esteem. And it's all deepened by, you guessed it, introspection. Let's break down how this works, piece by piece. First up, self-concept clarity. All this really means is that they have a very clear, very stable sense of who they are. They know what they stand for, what they value, and because of that, their happiness doesn't depend on what other people think online. It's an inside job.
And this just nails the second point, secure self-esteem. This isn't that loud, look-at-me confidence we see all the time. It's a quiet, steady kind of confidence. It doesn't need external validation to stay alive. They're not posting selfies to try and prove they're worthy, because, well, they already know they are.
Okay, the third piece has a kind of fancy name, an internal locus of evaluation. Big words, I know, but the idea is simple. It means you're your own judge. You measure your own success by your own standards, not by what the crowd online is saying today. This usually means they're deeper thinkers who would much rather have one real, authentic conversation than 100 superficial online interactions.
But hold on, there's another huge piece to this puzzle. It's not just about their inner world. It's also about how they see the outer world of social media. They're just keenly aware of the whole digital illusion, and they make a very conscious choice to pick peace over performance.
To put it really simply, they get it. They understand that social media is, for the most part, a highly edited, highly curated, and often distorted version of real life. They see the performance, they see the stage, and they just decide they'd rather not be in the play.
And this quote, this just gets to the absolute heart of the problem, doesn't it? We end up comparing our messy, real, behind-the-scenes life with everyone else's perfectly polished highlight reel. It's a game you can't win, and it's a deeply unhealthy one to play.
And yep, you guessed it, there is a name for this in psychology. It's called social comparison theory. It's just this natural human tendency we have to figure out our own worth by looking at how we stack up against others. And social media just pours gasoline on that fire. So here's the bottom line on this point. By staying low-key, by not constantly posting, they are actively protecting their mental health. It's not a passive thing. It's a proactive choice to step out of that exhausting, endless, and often damaging comparison game. So when we start putting all these pieces together, a totally different picture of our online ghost starts to emerge, right? We start to see a whole new way of thinking about what it actually means to be confident in this digital world.
So the next time you scroll past someone who never posts, maybe we can reframe it. They're not shy, they're grounded. They're not antisocial, they're emotionally intelligent. And they are definitely not uninteresting, they're just profoundly self-aware.
And if there's one idea to take away from all of this, it's this right here. This is the core of it. They don't need to be seen by everyone to feel seen by the people who truly matter. That external visibility has nothing to do with their internal sense of worth.
And that kind of leaves us with a big question to chew on, doesn't it? In a culture that is just constantly screaming at us to be visible, to perform, it's really worth asking ourselves, what does real, authentic confidence actually look like for you?